We did it. We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
The current US Vice President Kamala Harris, by her example, broke several gender and racial stereotypes of America at once. She became the first woman, the first black politician, and the first person of South Asian descent to serve as Deputy Head of State. Moreover, she is the first woman in the history of the country who was entrusted with presidential powers while under anesthesia of President Joe Biden during a recent colonoscopy procedure. At the same time, between reading CIA reports and summit meetings, Kamala, as a true woman with Indian roots, loves to cook and willingly shares recipes on Twitter, which breaks another stereotype that a female politician has no time to cook. However, the traditional origin does not prevent Kamala from systematically defending ultra-liberal initiatives, the ethical side of which is still argued by the whole world. She supports transgender people, advocates for the legalization of late-term abortions, marijuana, and gay marriage.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Kamala Harris is a strong, mixed-rooted, self-made woman who has firmly inscribed her name in US political history. How did a daughter of American immigrants succeed without an Ivy League university degree and connections in the American establishment? Kamala Devi Harris was born on October 20th, 1964 in Oakland, California, to an interracial family of immigrants from the former British colonies. Kamala's mum, Shyamala Gopalan, is from India and came to the United States to study medicine. Father Donald Harris had Jamaican roots and had an academic career in America. He became a professor of economics at Stanford. The parents met in the fall of 1962 on the campus of the University of California, Berkeley, where Kamala's father lectured on race relations in the United States. After completing the lecture, her mother came to meet. A conversation began between the young people, and sometime later, a romantic relationship. The University of Berkeley was at that time a center of student sentiment associated with the struggle for the civil rights of the colored population and other civil liberties. Kamala Harris's parents came together on this very basis. They were both regulars in rallies and protest marches, and when Kamala already appeared in their family, she was taken to rallies in a stroller as well. Kamala's mother later recalled, "I wasn't going to stay in the US forever. I came here to study. However, a story happened to me, a story as old as the world. I fell in love with a guy, we got married, and we had children." The firstborn was given the name Kamala. This is a tribute to the Hindu tradition, which my mother insisted on following. Kamala is one of the names of the Hindu goddess Lakshmi and means lotus flower in Sanskrit. A few years later, another daughter appeared in the family who was called Maya. As a child, Kamala visited India and became very close to her grandfather, who held a prominent political post in the country and participated in the struggle for her independence from Great Britain. For many years, Kamala was in correspondence with him and was under his intellectual influence. Her parents' marriage proved short-lived. They divorced a few years later. Kamala and her sister stayed with their mother and went to first grade the next year, after the start of a program to desegregate primary and secondary education in the United States. As part of this program, children from black neighborhoods were taken by bus to white schools, the so-called busing. Therefore, Kamala received her first educational experience in a mixed racial environment. However, the future vice president was graduating from high school no longer in America, but in 1981 in Montreal, Canada, where she moved with her mother and sister at the age of 12. Shyamala Gopalan was offered a position there as a lecturer and breast cancer researcher at the McGill University Faculty of Medicine. In Canada, Kamala held an independent protest for the first time. Together with sister Maya, At the age of 13, she staged a rally against the ban for children to play on the lawn near the apartment building in which they lived. The girls then won. The administration of the house surrendered. My mother understood very well that she was raising 2 black daughters and was determined to make sure we turned into confident and proud black women, recalled Harris afterwards. In 1986, she graduated from historically black Howard University in Washington, known as Black Harvard. The decision to choose a university was balanced and principled. For this, Harris moved to another US coast. Although she could have calmly studied at Stanford, where her father was an honorary professor of economics, but Kamala chose Howard, as she wanted to get an educational experience not in a mixed, but in her own racial environment. At university, she studied political science and economics. And then she continued her education in law, receiving a doctorate in law from the University of California in 1990. Harris's entire future career is connected precisely with jurisprudence, the traditional profession of the US political elite. After graduating, the young prospective graduate won the position of assistant prosecutor of Alameda County in her native Oakland and worked there until 1998, specializing in sex crimes. A breakthrough in her career was a matter of time, and in 1998, Kamala Harris moved to work in the office of the District Attorney of San Francisco, and already in 2003 was elected to the post of District Attorney, holding it until 2011. In this position, Kamala acquired many valuable connections. In particular, she met and made friends with Beau Biden, the son of future President Joe Biden, who died in 2015 from brain cancer. Could Kamala think of becoming vice president in just a few years? Kamala's work as district attorney began with some pretty tough measures that showed Harris's strong character. At the very beginning of her prosecutor's term, there was a high-profile murder of police officer Isaac Espinoza, and the new prosecutor, despite public pressure, refused to demand the death penalty for his killer, David Hill. Harris did not see the crime as grounds worthy of capital punishment and insisted on this contrary to the mood of society. At the funeral of the murdered policeman, she was publicly booed, and the mayor of San Francisco initiated an audit in connection with suspicion of abuse of authority. Inspectors found no wrongdoing in Harris's work, but her relationship with the police union was hopelessly damaged for the next 10 years. However, this did not prevent her from being elected to the post of California Attorney General in 2011, which she held until 2017. Kamala Harris, despite the fame of one of the most liberal politicians, was remembered for decisive and not the most popular measures. In such a way, as district attorney, she advocated a decrease in the number of parole, despite the fact that California prisons were overcrowded. A patriot is not someone who justifies the behavior of our country, whatever it does. This is someone who fights every day for the ideals of the country, no matter what it worths. Harris would write a few years later in her book, The Truths We Hold. In 2017, she made another career leap, joining the race for the chair of the US Senator from California, which she safely took, becoming the first ever colored senator from this state. In the senator's chair, being a staunch Democrat, she actively criticized the policies of President Donald Trump. In an interview, ex-President Barack Obama called Harris the most beautiful senator in the United States, for which he immediately received a shower of accusations of sexism and subsequently made a public apology for his words. Harris's entire life and career was built and continues to evolve in the wake of the fight against sexism, racism, ageism, and other types of discrimination. And for her, Obama's words, despite the compliment, were unacceptable. She is also negative when she is referred to in the press as Obama in a skirt, both for referring to race and for the label associated with the name of another politician. However, Obama is difficult to reproach. Kamala Harris is indeed a very effective woman, although she prefers a laconic business style, trouser suits, and a décolletage blouse. The look is usually decorated with earrings and necklaces, and on the road between work trips, she likes to dilute business style with Converse sneakers. The Vice President is a big fan of this brand, considers them very convenient, and even collects. Kamala Harris reached the highest point in her political career on January 20th, 2021, when she took over as US Vice President under Joe Biden. Taking the oath of office while taking office, she said, "I will be the first woman in this position, but I definitely won't be the last, because every little girl who watches TV tonight sees that this is a land of possibilities." This Harris promotion was preceded by a complex political long con. In 2019, she announced that she would run for president, and even arranged that the next debate with her future boss, Joe Biden, who did not expect attacks from the friend of his late son. However, on March 8th, 2020, Harris tweeted a message about the withdrawal of her candidacy and called on the electorate to vote for Biden. This is the first time the Biden-Harris tandem has publicly announced itself, which in 2020 even received an award from Time magazine. Rumor has it that the range of Harris's duties as vice president is noticeably wider than those of her predecessors. Therefore, she daily receives CIA reports intended for the president, conducts international negotiations, is included in a narrow circle of proxies involved in developing answers to external threats, such as missile attacks by pro-Iranian groups on the US military base in Iraq. Harris's working day is scheduled in minutes. In her own words, a clear daily routine and self-discipline helps her to keep up with everything. She lives in the vice president's official residence in Washington, but according to Forbes, the Harris family has 3 of their own homes in different parts of the United States, in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Washington. The estimated value of this property is $5.8 million. The vice president wakes up at 6 in the morning, works on an elliptical machine for half an hour, has breakfast with flakes of almond milk, and drinks a cup of tea with honey or lemon. Then she begins to fulfill her professional duties. Of course, she also has a weekend, and in her spare time, Harris doesn't mind cooking. From the very childhood, Mum said to me, "Kamala, you like to live on good food. It would be better for you to learn how to cook. In difficult times, I always turn to cooking. We can say that this is my distraction," she recalled. Harris tried all the recipes from Alice Waters' book The Comfort Food, and often shares signature recipes with followers on Twitter. For example, on 2020 Thanksgiving, she published a recipe for Kamala cornbread, and on ordinary days she prefers to delight her family with chicken baked in the oven. Kamala Harris's family are husband Douglas Emhoff and his children from his first marriage, Cole and Ella. Harris has no children of her own, and with Emhoff, a partner of the law firm Venable LLP, she met on a blind date in San Francisco. A private wedding ceremony was held at the courthouse in Santa Barbara, according to Jewish custom, a tribute to the origin of her husband. Harris speaks of their presence in her life. "They are my endless source of love and pure joy. One thing I can say with confidence is that without them, my heart would not be whole and my life would not be full." The appearance of children in her life motivated Kamala, known for her love of reading and writing, to release, in addition to 2 professional law books, a children's illustrated book. In 2019, she published the Superheroes Are Everywhere edition for children from 3 to 7 years old. The essence of the book is the meaning of heroism in actions and not in bright capes. Everything that Kamala Harris achieved, she achieved herself. It was all due to hard work, perseverance, and ambition. Who knows, maybe it is this persistent daughter of immigrants who is to become the first woman in US history to enter the White House as president.
Because when we fight, we win. Thank you.